Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and I'm still at my usual spot filming, giving you another video and serving the internet with the best booktube content you can ever find. If you know me at all on Instagram in real life, you know that I am a big Sally Rooney fan. And one of the recurring themes in her novel is power dynamics within a relationship, especially romantic ones. And then I started reading more and more books from Irish authors and also some English authors, and I see that theme being explored again and again, especially in books that are released kind of recently and by female authors, because I don't really read male authors. Not by choice, obviously, it just happened to be so, right? So I'm just going to run through all of them and rank all of them so that you can get a sense of which book you would like to read if you like to explore this kind of subgenre of like millennials, Gen Z, like young women being involved in a relationship with a much older man. So first of all, like I have mentioned, I feel like the one that is kind of like the gateway drug to this subgenre is Conversation with Friends by Sally Rooney. Very well known, everybody knows it. Some people hate it, some people love it. It's an acquired taste, but I liked it more than I thought I would. The story is basically an affair, and it's a difficult one to digest because none of the characters are likable. The main girl, which is also the narrator, Frances, is very self-aware and self-destructive at the same time, so it's like a very, very difficult person to read about and to just follow around, but it's well done. It's a good novel, so go ahead and read Conversation with Friends. And then on the theme of Sally Rooney exploring power dynamics within a relationship with an age gap is Beautiful World, Where Are You? Like, I just love this book so much. It's not the main theme like in Conversation with Friends, where that big age gap and big kind of like social class gap between the two people in the relationship being the main focus of the book. This one is just more widespread because the story focuses on 4 people, but 2 of them is Eileen and Simon. Eileen and Simon are childhood friends, and Simon is 6 years older than Eileen. It's my favorite relationship in the book. It makes so much sense where Eileen is kind of like dependent on Simon emotionally, but then Simon is the kind of person that is like nice to everyone, and he kind of pushed everyone away like from getting closer to him emotionally. So it was like difficult for Eileen because she feels like it's just like a one-way thing, even within the realm of friendship, not relationship, like romantic ones. But then they have this romance going on, and it was like a whole thing, and it was so well done, and it's a very compelling read. So Sally Rooney, you did it again. One of my favorites. Exciting times. This one is a lot more difficult to digest compared to Beautiful World, Where Are You? I feel like it's on par with Conversation with Friends. So it follows Ava, who is a 21-year-old Irish woman just freshly graduated from college, and she is now an expat in Hong Kong teaching English to native Hong Kong kids of like very wealthy family, and she got involved in a relationship with a banker who is 7 years older than her, called Julian. He buys her stuff, and eventually she moves in with him, not exactly paying rent because like he's like, you don't need to pay rent, I don't care about your money because you're not really making any. Like, they are bad for each other. She is very self-aware, and she knows way to get into him and make him annoyed, and he knows way to make her annoyed, and their relationship is like physical. But at the same time, I think the thing that is like most interesting about this novel compared to the Sally Rooney ones is that she's in Hong Kong, and there is this kind of exploration of language and like teaching English to rich children, and what is the proper kinds of English, and what is English as a language indicates about like social class and all of that, and at the same time there's like a background of politics happening in Hong Kong as well. So that's something, if you're interested in like witty and clever social commentary, I think this would satisfy you. But if you can't tolerate like difficult, toxic conversation in a toxic relationship, no. Oh yeah, and another thing I forgot to mention that she later on got involved with a Hong Kong native lawyer, and yeah, so they have this, you know, it's complicated, but essentially nothing really happens, but at the same time everything happens. One of the more recent reads I have, and I liked it for what it is A Very Nice Girl by Imogen Crimp. This one is kind of similar to Exciting Times, in that the man is also a banker, very rich. He's like in his mid-30s to closer to 40, and she is like a 26-year-old opera singer in training in like a school in London. So it's about her navigating art and the training of being a professional musician. Within her line of work, she has to, you know, be around people who come from much wealthier backgrounds than her. So that was like something that she has to navigate to, and being involved in a relationship with this man who she knew is bad for her, but she just like kept making excuses for him and for herself to just keep this relationship going. One problem I have with this, like the conversation about feminism in this book is kind of like giving white feminism, even though it critiques white feminism itself in the book, and it's not like a main theme. But you know, with every book released in these recent years, feminism is like a constant point to be brought up, and even a selling point. I wouldn't say I like it as much as Exciting Times, but I like it more than Conversation with Friends. One of the most recent reads I have of this subgenre is This Happy by Niamh Campbell. So I annotated it, so there are lines that are like tender and wonderful and sweet and introspective, all of that, but the entire book just like falls short for what it sells, because the authors kind of like diverge into monologues and like flashback into the past, but without like connecting to what's happening in the present. So like, yeah, sure, these flashback and these passages are well written, but what is it serving? Like, what does it signify about the trajectory of the story? Like nothing. So I didn't like it, but it's essentially about this woman called Alana. Alana was involved with a man in his 40s when she was 23, and they spent 3 weeks in an Irish cottage together, and eventually he left and they cut tiles, and it was a devastating breakup for her. And then now 6 years later, she married a different man, but the experience she had with the affair when she was 23 really shaped her decisions now. The thing is that I don't get why it shapes her decision. Like, it wasn't clear to me what is it about the affair that changes her. Like, this author can definitely write and can definitely write well, but other than the prose, the art or the craft of storytelling is kind of fall short. I have 2 reads that are not from Irish author, they're from English author, but it's in this subgenre, so I just put it in. First is Paul. I read it in the summer, and it features a girl also called Frances. So Frances had a scandal when she was working for a professor in France. They have like an affair essentially, and then she was like, okay, so I have this scandal, I have to quit the job, and she's kind of signed up for a program where she just moved to different farms and work at different organic farms in rural France. That sounds like my ideal kind of program. Like, is there like a graduate program in this? So anyways, one of the farm owner that she had this rotation is Paul. Like, it makes me frustrated, but like at the same time I understand why she is trapped in this situation. If you're, you know, triggered or uncomfortable by sexual assault and just kind of violent sexual thing, don't read this. There are scenes that are like very, very, very uncomfortable about that, even though the sex wasn't like, you know, intense, but the writing makes it so intense because we are engrossed in her emotion while the assault was happening. The most recent read for me is An Experiment in Leisure by Anna Glendenning. This is not so much about a young woman getting involved in an affair with an older man. The main girl, Grace, navigating her sense of worth and her sense of belonging. And during that process, she got involved in an affair with a man that is married, but separated from his wife. And it was a short while, but it's very physical and toxic, and she got out of it a different woman. Let's just put it that way. The story was not focused enough in the way it's going to keep me interested. Usually I'm fine with it if the writing is strong. But this one, having a weak plot and the writing, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's like not strong enough to drive the story at all. Now, if you're more interested in like, I don't know what it's serving. And that's all of the books that I ranked. I didn't actually rank them, but you know what. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed my commentary on these books, and subscribe if you like to, like the video if you like to, and I hope I will see you next time.